How we doing, everybody? Happy Monday here in the great state of Wisconsin, or wherever you're listening to. It is a great day to talk some Wisconsin sports, and welcome here to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. I'm your host, Trade. Today we are talking that ugly. I'm going to call it ugly. Ugly loss to Iowa on Saturday. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking a little bit. We're going to look at the college football slate, the scoreboard there, and see how everyone else fared in college football on Saturday. Also, look at the NFL scoreboard there through Sunday. And then we'll be talking a little MLB playoffs. The playoffs in the MLB have hit the championship series. We're going to be talking about them. And then we're going to be looking at the Bucks preseason news. Played a game against the Lakers last night. We're going to be covering here and just going over the box and seeing how the Bucks fared. Giannis and Lillard were both in the lineup for the Bucks. So we're going to be covering that. First, though, I want to jump into the Badgers. And when I said that Badgers game was ugly, I meant it was probably hands down one of the worst football games. And I'm 23. So I can't say that I've seen all these terrible football games of the past. But in my time, that is the worst football game I think I've watched. One of the worst football games I've watched in a while. 15-6. This game was 15-6. That's the final score of this game. 15-6. Just let that sink in for a second here. Looking at the box in this one, it was 7-0 at the end of the first half. Iowa was winning. 180-some yard run by Williams was the big one. 82 yards for a touchdown. That was the big one in this one. Otherwise, that was it. Badgers had a shot early on. They had a shot there right away to capitalize. Couldn't get her done. Deacon Hill, former Wisconsin backup quarterback, couldn't even take the job from Graham Mertz at Madison. 6 for 14 on the game with 37 yards through the air. 37 yards through the air in this one. Terrible. You can't beat a team like, I was watching. I was sitting at home, sitting there with my dogs, watching it by myself, And I'm glad I didn't go out and watch it because I don't think I could have watched it with people. And I'm sitting there watching, and it was just atrocious. And then you lose Tanner Mordecai leading up into half. And I was like, Mordecai, I've been hoping that they would maybe give another guy a shot. I haven't liked what Mordecai has done all season. And then here comes Braden Locke. And I was like, okay, get to see what the backups got. Braden Locke was not ready for this ball game. Far from ready. And I saw a lot of people talking, and they were talking about, oh, well, you can't expect the world out of Luke Fickell here in his first year at Madison because he's got a bunch of transfers in here, and these aren't his recruits and everything. It doesn't matter. You got outcoached. A 15-6 ball game. You got outcoached. It does not rely on your recruiting trail. It doesn't rely on your you got your transfer quarterbacks in. They're the guys you wanted. Tanner Mordecai was the guy. He was coming in. You were telling everybody in Wisconsin and everywhere in the country that Tanner Mordecai was the guy. He was going to come in and change Wisconsin football. The only thing he's changed is me thinking maybe it wasn't a great idea to send Graham Mertz away because we could have used him. This Wisconsin, like I said, I've been looking all over, watching on social media, and everybody's talking about Luke Fickell. And everybody's saying, oh, well, you can't expect it right away. You can't. You can't expect a complete flip over of a program, expect complete greatness out of them right away. If they would have lost to Ohio State this season and won the games they should have, I'd be fine with it. I would understand it. Luke Fickell's not going to go into play Ohio State his first year in Madison with the guys he's got and just completely steamroll Ohio State. You just played an Iowa Hawkeye team where you knew what the game plan was for Iowa. Iowa wants an ugly game. It is baffling to me when you listen to announcers during this game. And the announcer, I can't remember who was calling the game, but he kept saying it over and over again. This is the kind of game Iowa wants. This is the game they want. They want it to be ugly. You want this game to be ugly? Like, you want a 15-6 game. That's the score. That's what Iowa wants. Luke Fickell lost a game to an opposing team who had a quarterback throw for 37 yards. You knew what they were going to do. The only thing, the biggest thing that killed Wisconsin was special teams for Iowa. That punter from Iowa, I believe his last name is Taylor. I just got to double check here. Tory Taylor, unreal. He has got to be, if whatever NFL team gets Tory Hunter in the draft, or Tory Taylor in the draft, is going to be set at the punter spot for a very long time. 10 punts, 506 yards. His long was 62. That's crazy. That is unreal, unheard of. That is crazy punting numbers. He put the ball inside the 20-yard line 6 times. 6 times. I'm pretty sure, if my stats are right, the Badgers started on their own 6-yard line twice, and their 7-yard line 3 consecutive times. That's just, hats off to the punter from Iowa. He got player of the game to me. Tory Taylor. If you didn't watch the game, you got to go check out some of his stats and some of what he's been doing, because he's unreal. When you have a punter like that, you can survive ugly games. This Iowa team wouldn't be able to touch Ohio State. They got steamrolled by Penn State. I think it was 30-something to nothing. Iowa is not a great team. They're far from it. They play ugly games. Wisconsin made more mistakes than what Iowa did. Early on in this one, the Badgers had it 4th and 1, I do believe. It was 4th and 1, and the Badgers debuted. It was something you would see out of Paul Chryst playbook. They put in 4 tight ends, a formation they haven't run all season, and they pulled 2 of them. They pulled 2 of the tight ends and tried to get a lead block for Braylon Allen. Left the right side exposed. Allen was hit for a 2-yard loss. Lost the turnover on downs right there. Instead of going for the field goal, which in this game, that's what this game was leading towards. The offense right away for the Badgers went deep ball. They hit that in stride. They started to get going. And then they went away from it. And they tried to change it up. And then on 4th and 1, you changed the offense completely. You went with something that we haven't seen since Paul Chryst was in Madison. And 2-yard loss. This game was miscoached by Luke Fickell, by Phil Longo. You know what? I usually yell about Tressel, and I don't like what Tressel does. Tressel's game plan was pretty easy in this one. Honestly, the defense was the best part of this game, of this game here. And the defense was pretty, straightforward. They're gonna run the ball at us. If they throw it, they're looking for the tight ends. That's it. That's simple as it is. These receivers for Iowa are completely irrelevant to the world. Eric All, tight end, 2 catches for 19 yards. He went out with injury, so they lost their second great tight end early on in this one. Their top wide receiver in this one was Nico Regini, 2 catches for 13 yards. Other than that, their passing game, 1 catch for 4 yards and 1 catch for 1 yard. That's about as predictable as an offense can get. They were going to run it right at you. They rushed for 200 yards on the game. LaShawn Williams had 174, Caleb Johnson 35, and Seth Anderson had 16. That's it. That's the total of rushing yards for Iowa. You knew it was coming. The big difference in this one, the game changer in this one, was that long touchdown run by LaShawn Williams. Broke one out, got a hole in the Badgers defense, and took it. There's your game changer in this one. This was ugly football. Straight across the board, ugly. You look over at the Badgers in this one, the box for the Badgers. Braden Locke, like I was saying, you look at backup quarterbacks, and they still have to have something. They're not going to be what your starter is. They aren't. Look at the Packers. Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Jordan Love isn't what Aaron Rodgers was. He isn't. But he's young yet, so we still have hope in what he can do. But he was the backup quarterback. He came in situations. I think he played against the Chiefs there, played against the Eagles, but he still played pretty good for the Packer team. Braden Locke came into this one, and Braden Locke looked like he was lost. Looked like he hadn't seen what the offensive playbook was. He can't run outside the pocket. I mean, that was plain as day. The pocket collapsed and Locke was going to get hit. Made some terrible decisions. One of them resulted in an interception. And, I mean, just did not seem ready for the situation at hand. So, what do you do moving forward? Mordecai, from what Luke Fickell said, Fickell came out and he said it doesn't look good for a while. He couldn't even grip the ball, couldn't grip the football. So, assuming Mordecai's out for weeks here, where do you go at quarterback? Because Braden Locke's not the answer. So, do you go even deeper on the bench that you have? Do you go to Evers maybe? Do you try maybe putting Burkett in there? You're running out of options if you're Wisconsin. Looking at the quarterback room right now, LeCroux just came in. He's a freshman. Maybe give him a shot, or you have Evers and Burkett. Locke, I thought Mordecai wasn't the answer at Madison. Locke isn't the answer at Madison. Even under the coaching change, these quarterbacks are still struggling. Mightily struggling. Mordecai, we've known it. Saw it all season long. Everybody's just let it skate by. They've just let it skate by because they said, well, this is what we got to work with, so we're going to work with it. We're used to it. We have multiple quarterbacks sitting behind Mordecai. Now that Mordecai's hurt, you have multiple quarterbacks sitting behind Braden Locke. This next week, you have Illinois. Now, my prediction from last week where Wisconsin was going to beat Iowa and then beat Illinois to become ranked going into Ohio State, it could have been right because Iowa moved to number 24 in the rankings here heading into this next week. So the winner of that game did jump into the rankings. But now you go unranked into Illinois. That's a tough matchup. Coming off a loss against Iowa where this offense looked terrible, now you go and play a team like Illinois who will feed off of that. The Badgers are going to get some tests here. And if you struggle with Illinois, I'm sorry to say it, but as a Badger fan, it's going to be tough to turn on that TV for that Ohio State matchup. It really is. That game is going to be, it's going to be a massacre. That's basically all that it is. Looking at the rest of the box for the Badgers in this one, Braylon Allen couldn't really get him going. 18 carries, 87 yards. He looked hurt at the end. He looked like he was banged up, injured, wasn't ready to go. And the Badgers kept trying to use him. I thought Jackson Aker played a pretty good game the week before. I thought Jackson Aker actually filled in really well. 3 carries for 10 yards. That's all the work he got. Other than that, you look at the rushing, Tanner Mordecai, 4 carries for 8 yards, and Braden Locke tried one and got negative 1 yard out of it. Bryson Green went for 86 yards through the air, 5 catches. Will Pauling on 8 catches, 60 yards. DK, 4 catches for 44 yards. Skylar Bell, 3 catches for 18 yards. The pass game was working at times, but the Badgers, whenever it started to work, started to try to switch it up. We were moving the ball with Braylon Allen, but then we decided on this 1st and 10, instead of running the ball, we've ran the ball for 4 consecutive plays. They haven't caught on. We're still hitting the hole hard, and we're still getting 4 or 5 yards of crack. Instead of sticking with it, we move on. We try to go back through the air. Now we're 2nd and 10. You look at penalties in this ball game. One of the big things were penalties, and it wasn't like there was a lot. 7 for 48 yards, but they came at massive points in this ball game. 3rd and 1 in the red zone, and a false start backed the Badgers up on that play resulted in a turnover on downs, delay of game on 3rd and 7, and a false start on a 3rd and 2 killed multiple drives that the Badgers have had in this one. Also, on special teams, there were 3. There was a block in the back and a couple of holds that moved the Badgers back to inside the 6-yard line or on their own 6, moving them back, starting them out in terrible field position. You look at the way that Taylor was kicking in this one, you needed all the yards you can get. He had some booming kicks. He was going to put you down inside the 10-yard line if he could. So when DK fielded that down there, he needed those extra 10 yards. Get him out to the 20. You have a second-string quarterback, a freshman, Braden Locke, coming into this ball game. Hasn't been able to get ready to go. He's coming in fresh, hasn't seen any really game action yet, and you're throwing him in there against this Iowa defense. But instead of throwing him in and we got the ball at the 20, we're throwing him in and we have the ball back on the 6. Now he's got his back in the end zone, and he's got to find a way out of there. Coaching, calling the right plays deep inside there is going to be a game changer in that situation. Coaching failed the Badgers in this one. Luke Fickell did not coach a good game here. We got outcoached. Simple as that. Simple as it is, the Badgers got outcoached by Iowa in this ball game. We played their hand. It's like when you go into a defensive battle and you know they want you to. It's like a game of basketball. You know they want to trap you in the corner, yet you dribble the ball down there and you let them get the trap. Now you turn the ball over. That's what this was. The Badgers, everybody knew the game Iowa wanted to play. The offense wasn't going to win it for them. They were going to do just enough. If they were going to win this ball game, it was going to be just enough. They would have taken a 3-0 win. They would have taken 7-0. Badgers made more mistakes. They played the hand they were dealt. Didn't try to switch up. Put it all out there and failed. And that is as simple as it is. The Badgers struggled in this ball game, and we're going to get more into the Badgers as the week goes on. We're going to be talking a little bit about what Luke Fickell said after the game there. We're going to talk about that tomorrow and really dig deep into the Badgers here and see really where everything went wrong in this one, where they could find some improvement, and what needs to change at Madison. Because right now, I was, going into this season, I thought to myself, Wisconsin football is going to change, and I was excited. I was through the roof. And I didn't expect it to be a national championship or bust season. I did. I really did. But from what we heard, what we saw a team getting put together, a bunch of playmakers. On the offensive side, we finally had some quarterbacks in the quarterback room. We had Braylon Allen returning at running back. We rarely use Braylon Allen. The playmakers at the wide receiver front struggled to get the ball because of our lack of quarterback play. Our offensive line struggles. Our secondary is terrible. You didn't really see it against Iowa because they don't throw the ball. Our front 7 on the defenses, they're okay. They're pretty good. They can make plays. They can do what they got to do. This Wisconsin team all around, they got a pretty good kicker. I'll give them that. They got a pretty good kicker. Their punter, not bad. He had 8 punts in this one, 343 yards, 3 of them inside the 20, 51 was his long. It was a pretty good punting battle against Iowa. Besides that, the Badgers, I don't care what you have to say about Luke Fickell, and sometimes it takes a little while. It doesn't take a little while to figure out how to coach a football team. You have the transfers. You have the transfers that you wanted at the quarterback room. You implemented a new offense. You threw out the old playbook. Now we're seeing it. We're seeing the struggle all around. You came from Cincinnati. You start playing some of the big dogs in the Big Ten. You aren't ready for it. You really aren't. From what I'm seeing, not ready for the spotlight at Madison. He is not. He's not ready to play Big Ten opponents yet. And you look towards next year, when you're going to get teams like Oregon, USC, Washington, some of the big names, Oregon, coming to the Big Ten, and you think that you're just going to all of a sudden just start winning these recruiting battles inside the Big Ten? You better put together a winning season right now, because these recruits, when they look and see the Big Ten now, and they see Oregon in there, and they see USC in there, and they see Washington, and they see, I just forgot the other one off the top of my head there. UCLA? I got to look that up now. Big Ten expansion. Right there. UCLA. I was right. UCLA. Just had to make sure I was right. You get UCLA in there, USC, Washington, and Oregon all coming to the Big Ten now. You won't even be, if you cannot put together a winning season right now and show recruits that you have something to build off of in Madison, you will not throw the best, you won't even throw top 6 in the Big Ten. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, Washington, USC. I'd throw UCLA in there. 7. You won't even get top 7 in the Big Ten if you cannot throw a winning season on the field right now. Because those guys are joining the Big Ten now, and if you can't outcoach some of these guys, if you can't outcoach Iowa and the crap that we saw on the field there on Saturday, if you cannot prove that you can win a game like that as a coach, who's going to be knocking at your door to come to Madison here in the future? That's what I want to know. Because right now, I'm seeing Wisconsin football fall and keep on falling. People hate Paul Chryst. People hated him for his offense and his lack of recruiting. I tell you what, you give me the 3 stars he was bringing in and Graham Mertz and his offense against Iowa with Jim Leonhard backing him as defensive coordinator, that's a flip the script game against Iowa. I tell you that. Wisconsin doesn't lose that game. Wisconsin doesn't lose to Washington State. You might hate Paul Chryst, but Luke Fickell has not proven anything towards being the answer. Maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe he gets, people keep, I seeing all social media, people keep saying, well, if Paul Chryst, or if Luke Fickell gets his recruits, if he gets his recruits in there into Madison. So what was Luke Fickell's recruiting classes at Cincinnati? Were they phenomenal recruiting classes? Did he pull guys like Alabama was bringing in? Did he pull guys like Ohio State was bringing in? I don't think so. Just looking it up here to see, I just want to see a comparison of his recruits. Looking back, see if we can't jump back to when did Cincinnati? Right here, I gotta check out. Looking at his recruiting class coming into that 2021 season there. You look at his recruiting class in Cincinnati, couple 4 stars. Had a couple 4 stars come in. Other than that, 3 stars across the board. 3 stars coming into Cincinnati. He wasn't getting highly touted recruits. And neither was Paul Chryst. Paul Chryst wasn't drawing these massive recruits into Madison. But you know what he drew into Madison? An offensive line that could block better than anybody in the country. Running backs who were some of the best in the country. Defensive line and linebackers galore, because his defensive coordinator, Jim Leonhard, was one of the best in the business, and he can make an average guy look fantastic at his defense. This coaching staff that you're bringing in right now, if you think for 1 second they're going to recruit like Ohio State does, like Michigan does, like Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, USC, just to name a few. I keep going on and on. He's not. He's not going to draw them into Madison. Paul Chryst didn't expand himself on those recruiting trails because that wasn't what was going to fit in his philosophy, the way that he ran offenses. The world of college football is changing. It really is. And we saw a team in Wisconsin who's trying to go through the change and change into more of a passing team, an air raid offense, a dairy raid offense, as they like to call it, and an Iowa team who plays old school. We're going to run and we're going to run, and we're going to play a little bit of defense in there. That's the Big Ten. That's the Big Ten football. Wisconsin was consistent through going through the years. They were going to win the games of the Big Ten West, lose to Ohio State. Every year. It didn't change. So when you brought Luke Fickell in and you changed up everything, changed the whole coaching staff, now we're not even at the top of the Big Ten West. Now Iowa, if you really think about it, now Iowa has the keys to the castle. Iowa right now has the tiebreaker over Wisconsin. 2-1, both 2-1, but they have the tiebreaker over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got to play Ohio State. Iowa has a tiebreaker over. Wisconsin now is in jeopardy of not winning the Big Ten West, not making it to the Big Ten championship game. Which, looking at this team, do they deserve to be there? I don't even know if they deserve to be there. I don't know if they deserve to make the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Something needs to change in Madison. And Luke Fickell might prove me wrong, but as of right now, he's proving every one of my worries to be true because this team is trending in the wrong direction. Well, like I said, we're going to be looking into a little bit more of Wisconsin tomorrow here on Wisconsin Sports on the Go. But right now, I want to look at the college football slate from this last Saturday. Check out some of the games here. We're going to be looking into the top 25. Georgia took care of Vanderbilt, as we suspected, 37-20 in that one. Indiana they started out good. Indiana was beating Michigan 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. Then Michigan just said, okay, enough's enough. We're just going to win this game 52-7. The final in that one. Ohio State, Purdue. Ohio State, it wasn't much of a ball game there. Purdue's kicker did miss, I think, 3 of them on the ball game in there. I did see they had a fan down in the field who knocked through 3 of them. One from 40 yards. Impressive work out of that fan. But Ohio State, I think Purdue needs to invest in that guy to be their new kicker. Florida State took care of Syracuse 41-3. Penn State, Massachusetts, that wasn't even a ball game, 63-0 in that one. Washington, an impressive win. It was a dogfight. 36-33 over Oregon in that one. A battle of unbeatens. Bo Nix played a great game for Oregon, just wasn't enough. 337 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns in that ball game. That was an impressive game from Washington there, hanging on at the end against Oregon. And a game I told you guys to watch, and I thought could be an upset. Notre Dame, 48-20. They took care of number 10 USC. And I said going into that one, watch USC's defense. USC's defense has skated by all season long. They haven't seen a team like Notre Dame yet. USC hasn't seen a defense like Notre Dame's defense. They play in the pack. They aren't used to playing these great defenses. Notre Dame put the shellacking on them. And Caleb Williams, 3 interceptions in that ball game. Notre Dame's defense played a great game here, and Notre Dame overall played a great game in that one. Sucks that this is coming after losing 2 of those big ranked matchups because now you're out of the college football playoff conversation. Otherwise, with 1 loss, this win over USC puts you back on the map. With 2 losses, it's a struggle, but impressive win from Notre Dame there against USC. Set back the Trojans. I don't know what the odds are for USC to make the college football playoff anymore, but with USC losing, and Washington getting the win, sticking at 6-0. That is going to be an interesting Pac-12 finish there. I wonder if Washington's got a date with USC in 3 weeks' time. Arizona State, then Stanford, then they play USC. So USC will meet Washington pretty soon here. And then I wonder when Oregon meets USC. Oregon will meet them the week after. So USC's got a tough slate. They're going to play Washington and then Oregon back to back. And Washington playing some great football. So is Oregon. Those are two of the top teams in the pack. And USC's defense is going to have to figure it out going into that one. Otherwise, they're going to have to win a shootout. Looking down here, Alabama got the win over Arkansas 24-21. North Carolina over Miami 41-31. Pittsburgh got the upset over number 14 Louisville 38-21. An impressive game from the Pitt Panthers in that one. Louisville struggled to get the ball moving in this one. Plummer did have a great game, though, for Louisville. 350 yards and 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions on that one. Threw a pick 6. That was a big game changer in this one for Pitt. Oregon State won the ranked matchup with UCLA 36-24. Utah over California 34-14. Duke took care of NC State 24-3. Looking down here, Tennessee 20-13 over Texas A&M. Arizona got the win over Washington State. Arizona's throwing together a pretty good season right now in the pack there. Came off a 3 overtime loss to USC. Now they put the shellacking on Washington State 44-6. An impressive win by the Wildcats there in Arizona. LSU got the win over Auburn 48-18. Kansas lost to Oklahoma State 39-32. And Missouri gets the upset win over number 24 Kentucky 38-21. So how does that affect the rankings heading into let's see here. Looking at the rankings, if you want to check around, I'm just looking at the Big Ten here. Michigan on top, Ohio State right behind them, and then Penn State's all sitting at, Michigan's at 4-0, the rest sitting at 3-0 in Big Ten play. Looking at the West there, Iowa up on top now 3-1, the Badgers sitting at 2-1, and Northwestern at 1-2. The West, pretty bad to look at. The battle is between Wisconsin and Iowa. Wisconsin lost that ability to have that control. Looking at, you would have knocked Iowa to a losing record along with everybody, or a 500 record along with everybody else in the conference in that West. And now you are sitting below them due to the tiebreaker. So it's tough sledding for Wisconsin here on out. Hopefully, we see some better things out of Wisconsin there coming up this next week. But with that, I want to jump over into the NFL. Looking at the scores from Sunday, the Lions beat the Buccaneers 20-6. Lions with an impressive win. Buccaneers, impressive. I thought I was impressed with the Buccaneers. Played a pretty good game. Baker Mayfield's doing a pretty good job down there in Tampa, and that defense has still got some playmakers on it. So Buccaneers, Lions get the win there. Eagles with an upset loss to the Jets. Jets with a big upset there on that late pick in that one. 20-14. Jalen Hurts was picked off 3 times in that ball game. Eagles struggled to get their feet going in that one, and Jets took advantage of it. The Jets are young and they're scrappy, and they'll take anything that they can get at this point. Looking at the Rams and the Cardinals, Rams took care of it 26-9. Raiders beat the Patriots 21-17, but Derek Carr, looking at the box here for that one. In that one, Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt. Sorry, got my quarterbacks messed up. Jimmy Garoppolo was injured in that ball game. Brian Hoyer actually had to come in. Jimmy Garoppolo was taken to the hospital, so hopefully everything checks out with Jimmy G and everything is okay. I always get those two mixed up, Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr. I forget where they go. But Jimmy Garoppolo was injured in that one and had to be replaced by Brian Hoyer late. But Brian Hoyer did just enough to hang on for the Raiders. Looking up the scoreboard, the Texans got an impressive 20-13 win over the Saints. There's Derek Carr. Win for 353, but had a late interception there against this Texans team. Texans playing some pretty good football. CJ Stroud, we talked about this last week, and my counterpart there on Eyes on the Inside was correct. CJ Stroud did throw his first interception against the Saints. So I will eat my words on that one. I didn't think he would. That was a heck of a prediction right there. So Texans get the win in that one. Jaguars 37-20 over the Colts. Jaguars playing a little bit better as of late. Gardner Minshew did look good for the Colts besides those 3 interceptions. 329 yards through the air and 1 touchdown. Dolphins 42-21 winners over the Panthers. Dolphins offense continues to roll. The Browns with an impressive win over the 49ers. A late field goal miss by Moody set the table for the Browns win in that one. But the Browns, we talked about it last week. Their defense is pretty darn good, and they hung right with the 49ers in that one. Did not help that the 49ers lost Christian McCaffrey, and I believe somebody else went out for them in that one. Trent Williams was banged up in that one. 49ers were a hurting mess in that ball game, but Browns still an impressive win there. Bengals got the win over the Seahawks, 17-3. Geno Smith went for 323, but had 2 interceptions in this one. Vikings finally get a win. It's been a little bit. Got the 19-13 win over the Chicago Bears. Moved to 2-4 on the season though. So Vikings, if you're a Vikings fan, glad to see you back in the winning ways. I'm not. I really don't care. But Vikings get the win over the Bears. Commanders beat the Falcons 24-16. They screw me over in my pick'em league every week. I watched the Commanders lose to the Bears. I was like, no way the Falcons lose to them. This is what I get. I get a 3 interception performance out of Desmond Ridder. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? No. My pick'em league is just falling apart every single week. Looking up the scoreboard here, the Ravens took care of the Titans there 24-16. Impressive win by the Ravens there. And the Titans continue to fall. It's kind of something to see down there in Tennessee. Maybe they'll figure it out at the quarterback position at some point. Who knows? But with that, I want to jump over into the MLB, into the playoffs here. Starting up, let's just check it out here. Tonight, we're going to have the Rangers and Houston. It's going to be a 3:37 start. If I can get the schedule to pull up here, it doesn't want to. That one's going to be a 3:37 start on Fox, 4:37 p.m. Eastern time. And then the late game will be the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. That is going to be a 7:07 p.m. Eastern start on TBS. In this one, I like Houston in that series against the Rangers. I really do. And I tell you what, I've told you guys the facts about the Brewers, who they lose to in the playoffs and what happens. And it doesn't matter who it is. They beat the Brewers in the playoffs, they're going to the World Series. So in that series, I have the Diamondbacks. I don't think there's a team that can hold them down. This group of rookies that they have and a couple veterans, Evan Longoria is playing like he's 25 years old again. Zach Gallen's pitching great. Merrill Kelly's pitching great. The bullpens, they're not a great bullpen, but they're pitching okay. This Diamondbacks team is poised. They're young, they're hungry, and they are proving that the spotlight isn't too big for them. I think Arizona takes the series against the Phillies. I think it's going to go the complete series. I don't think it's going to end in 4. Don't think it's going to end in 5. I think this baby is going 7 for sure. I don't know. Houston and the Rangers, I think Houston might be able to take care of that one in 6. I got Houston in 6, but that Diamondbacks-Phillies series, that's going to be a fun one. I really do think that's going to be a fun series, and I think the Diamondbacks will take it in 7 to set up a Diamondbacks Houston World Series, a battle in the South. I think it's going to be a heck of a postseason. I think the postseason is just heating up. I really do. I think we've watched a lot of baseball already, and I think we haven't seen the greatest of baseball yet. I think these two series here with the Rangers in Houston and the Diamondbacks and the Phillies are going to be two series must-watch TV on. I think both. I think all the games are on Fox or TBS. Nope, it looks like FS1 will carry some of the games for Fox there. Fox will have the first game. They have the first game and then the game 2. And then, oh yeah, and game 1, Texas did win game 1 versus Houston 2-0. So I'm banking on Houston to roll here after that first game series loss. But I have Houston, Diamondbacks. Games are on Fox, FS1, or TBS all the way through. And I do believe once the World Series starts, it's all on Fox. So if you have them on your TV, you better be watching, because I'm telling you, must watch TV. But now we're going to flip over to the NBA, and we're going to check out the Bucks, because we just have to see. The Bucks had the Lakers last night, and Giannis and Lillard were both on the floor for the Bucks in this one. Looking at the box, Jay Crowder, 24 minutes, 2 for 4 from the floor, 1 for 3 from downtown. He had 5 points. Giannis, 15 minutes. He was 7 for 10 from the floor, 1 for 1 from downtown, 16 points. He had 8 rebounds in those 15 minutes. Brook Lopez, 22 minutes played, 3 for 10 from the floor, 1 for 6 from downtown, 4 for 4 from the line, though. He had 4 rebounds and 11 points. Damian Lillard in his Bucks debut, 22 minutes, 3 for 10 from the floor, 2 for 7 from downtown, 6 for 6 from the line. He had 2 rebounds and 14 points for the Bucks in this one. Cameron Payne and Pat Connaughton both finished with 12 points for the Bucks. Connaughton went 4 for 7 from downtown in this one, 4 for 9 from the field, and Cameron Payne went 1 for 4 from downtown, 4 for 11 from the field. The Bucks bench played pretty good in this one. Connaughton, Payne, and Bobby Portis, 10 points off the bench for him. Also, Bieshkamp, 15 minutes, 3 for 5 from the floor, 1 for 1 from downtown. He had 8 points on the ball game here. The Bucks are proving that their bench is there. I mean, they have a decent bench to work with here. Also, we didn't see Middleton in this one. You're going to have Middleton figured into that starting role. I would honestly, I like Jake Crowder as a starter. I think Lillard, Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez, and Jay Crowder. I think you bring Beasley off the bench for the Bucks in this one. I think that'll be an impressive starting lineup, and also add another bench piece. I think the Bucks are fine, honestly. I think the bench has some decent players on it, some scorers. The starting lineup has scorers. I think if you utilize Jay Crowder, especially for his defense, I think the Bucks will be fine this season. I like the look of the Bucks. In this one, it looks like for the Lakers, Anthony Davis led all scorers with 16. D'Angelo Russell had 11. Hachimura had 8. Prince had 8 for him. And Cam Reddish had 10 off the bench. Christie had 10. Other than that, LeBron did not play. And I'm not seeing anybody else here. Jackson Hayes had 7. That is about it. Jalen Hood did not play in this one. I wonder. He did not play against the Bucks. So from what I can see out of the reports, I'm not sure why he did not play in that ball game. But he was just a decision he was not going to play in this one. So the Bucks get the win though in this ball game there, 108-97. So some impressive work out of the Bucks there. Exciting stuff. Tomorrow we're going to be looking also at the Badgers. Badger basketball had the red-white scrimmage. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. See what we saw there at the scrimmage and what to look forward to. Badger basketball is coming up here. November 1st is the first tip-off of the season. Can't wait to watch that. We're getting back into the Packers too this week. We're going to be covering a little bit more of the Packers, talking a little bit more Badger football. The Bucks are getting closer and closer. Wisconsin sports are heating up right now. We have a lot to cover, and we're going to get to it this week. Also, Wednesday, we are going to have a special interview for you guys there. Stay tuned. You're going to want to hear it. It's a special guest. She's awesome. Can't wait for the interview. So hope you guys enjoy. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. Thank you guys for listening. Deuces.